Hi, this is Brad Linder with Liliputing, and this is the Egreat i6. It's a small computer that's small enough to hold in one hand, but it runs full Windows software. It's currently running Windows 8.1, has an Intel Atom Bay Trail quad-core processor, has 2 gigabytes of RAM, 32 gigabytes of storage. In fact, the hardware is very similar to what you would find on some even smaller devices like this Intel Compute Stick, but you get a little bit more in this larger package, including more ports, this wireless antenna, and dual-band Wi-Fi. In general, I find that the wireless performance is significantly better on this model, and the additional ports make it a lot easier to use as a desktop computer and not just a stick for turning your television into a device that can stream videos from Netflix. You can do that, but you can do much more. So you'll see here we've got 3 USB 2.0 ports. On the back there's a VGA port, an HDMI port, Ethernet jack, and audio jacks. There's a separate mic and speaker. There's a micro SD card slot. Vents on the side here. Well, we can see that in this lighting, but there are vents here, and so that helps keep it from overheating. It does get a little bit warm to touch when in operation, but overall it's not too bad, and I haven't seen any sort of major issues from throttling that I can tell. The main thing is that the Wi-Fi performance is significantly better than on the Intel Compute Stick. Works really well up here in my 3rd floor office, even though the router's down on the 1st floor. The Compute Stick I pretty much have to take downstairs to the 1st floor if I want to use it. So let's go ahead and plug this guy in, and I'll show you a little bit about what it can do. So I've got a couple different devices here. I'm going to put in a mouse, a keyboard, a monitor. I'm just going to do a monitor and not speakers at the moment, because I just like the way it looks better over a VGA connection. Is everything plugged in? I think everything's plugged in. And so you'll see as we do that, we've got a little red light here telling us that it's plugged in but not turned on. And it switches to blue, and should boot pretty quickly. Now, one thing that's a little bit odd about this is that the operating system thinks it's a tablet. So when I first booted this up, it confused me quite a bit here. There's this on-screen keyboard always wants to show up, and when you go here, you'll notice that there's no option to shut down. That's pretty much the main difference between the tablet and the desktop UI. All you have to do is do a Control-Alt-Delete, and then you can get to the sleep, shutdown, and restart options here, but it does think it's a tablet, so it's something that's a little bit annoying from time to time. But for the most part, a Windows 8 tablet can do anything that a Windows 8 desktop can, and I'll show you that in just a second here, once I untangle my mouse. You could probably use a wireless keyboard and mouse. I'm using some spare things that I've got lying around here. And so you can see we can sort of scroll over the side. We've got the Windows Charms bar, we've got the Start menu, or Start screen. We've got access to all of the applications that are pre-installed and some that I've installed myself. So what are some of the types of things that I've done with this? Most of what I do as a blogger for work, and I have used this for work, I've written a number of articles for Liliputing, is spend my day in web browser. I've had up to a dozen tabs open in Google Chrome without having any real problems. And you can see that web pages load relatively nicely. Let's go ahead and do a little speed test. Now, sometimes when the antenna is not positioned perfectly, I've noticed that the speed does slow down, but it's connected to my 5G network right now. Actually, is it the 5G or is it the 3G? Nope, it's connected to my 2.4G network. You can also connect to the 5G network there. And we're getting pretty good data speeds. So on one side, we're downloading as fast as we can, and on the other side, we're watching a video here. 2 tabs, screen side by side. Or we can make that video go full screen. is streaming at 720p. Let's crank it up to 1080p. So you can see browsing, internet stuff basically works pretty well. I've edited documents, used Irfan View to do some very basic image editing. And I've installed the Kodi Media Center. And it boots quickly. And I need to restore my shared network drive here. There we go. Let's try that again. So overall, it works pretty well as a media center. You can use it for work. You can use it as a general computer. Now, bear in mind, it does have a relatively low-power Intel Atom processor. It's a Bay Trail chip. It's really designed for tablets and low-power systems. And so this Egreat i6 actually sells for, I forget. So let's see what it's currently selling for. It was sent to me by the folks at geekbuying.com to test. And so we're going to type that in here and see if the price has changed since they sent it, selling for about $140. So it's not the cheapest device in its category, but in terms of devices that have VGA and Ethernet and HDMI and dual band Wi-Fi and strong Wi-Fi performance, I think it's a pretty nice, decent performance device. So it's really not that much more expensive than a top-of-the-line Roku or other device that would let you watch movies on a TV, but you can put this next to your TV and be able to run full desktop Windows operating system files and applications. You could access the free version of Hulu without paying for a Hulu Plus subscription and so forth. Now, I'm using it here as sort of a desktop computer with a keyboard and a mouse. You could theoretically plug in a gamepad for playing games or navigating that way. You could plug in a remote control wireless receiver or other sorts of peripherals. If you wanted to use it as a desktop computer, as I mentioned, I've had up to a dozen browser tabs open, but it does sort of get to slow down the more you ask it to do. Things like transcoding audio and video files, you can find some benchmark results at Liliputing.com where I'll post those. It's not as fast as some systems. It's not even as fast as a device with an Intel Core M processor, which is a low-power Broadwell CPU, because again, it is sort of that tablet-style processor. But for basic use, if you're mostly just sort of going to be doing one thing at a time and 2 gigs of RAM isn't a huge limitation for you, you could use it like a desktop computer. So overall, I'm pretty impressed with what it has to offer. It's one of the better, inexpensive mini computers running Windows that I've tested. So this is Brad Linder with Liliputing, and a look at the Egreat i6, which is a mini PC available for $140 from geekbuying.com, and also probably available from other sellers as well. It comes from a Chinese company. It's probably not going to be available in bricks and mortar stores in the US, but it's also a relatively well-priced device for the amount of performance that you get.